Welcome to Dodgers Dogs as part of the Dodgers Daily Network. Casey Porter here, joined by Austin Brubaker. And Austin, it's been a great week to be a Dodger. It's always great to be a Dodger. But, hey, this week especially, TeoscarHernandez showed very well at the Home Run Derby. You have the 5 different All-Stars, and ShoheiOhtani hits the first home run in a Dodger uniform in an All-Star game since 1988. So, man, what a week it has been to be a Dodgers fan. And kind of good timing, isn't it?
Yeah, it's very good timing. I think a lot of the Dodgers fans, especially with the bitterness and with the disappointment that they felt during the previous week, which there still is some of that because of the way that the team performed during the previous week. There was some of that going into the All-Star week, All-Star festivities. You were looking for something to get you excited about, something to really help re-energize this team. And I think we saw that a little bit on a national display. We saw some big performances, even if it's during exhibition type action. Obviously, TeoscarHernandez, big home run derby win. That was a ton of fun to watch for Dodgers fans, for the game of baseball, to see him go out there, perform with the game's best, out-duel a Bobby Witt Jr. in the finals to win the home run derby. Leaves you with a smile on your face. And then when you go to the All-Star game, you saw the Dodgers were the ones that stepped up, particularly a guy by the name of ShoheiOhtani stepped up and delivered big moments within the All-Star game. I know these might be exhibition type action, but I think these are big national moments that get you excited that these guys, particularly the 2 guys that the Dodgers brought over in the offseason to deliver during the big-time moments, they might be exhibition, but they could be an insight to what they could do during the postseason. Really excited to watch for the Dodgers. Helps showcase some of the talent that we know that the Dodgers do have on a national scene, while also giving you a little bit of hope that they could deliver on the national level when these games no longer are exhibition, but actually really mean something.
Absolutely. And another thing that happened this week, exciting, the draft took place this week, and we are going to cover that tomorrow morning. Going to have our draft show tomorrow and get into all that. I know that there's a lot of good sites out there. Bruce Kuntz did a lot of great work on the draft show over there at Dodgers Digest. He has a good breakdown of I think basically every player that the Dodgers took and their slot and how he's going to sign, whether he's going to sign or not. So there's a lot of great draft coverage over there. We will have our draft show tomorrow morning and talk about our thoughts on each draft pick. And I know I've talked to a couple of the college coaches, like I've talked to Kyle Fromke, as far as some of the players that the players have played for, and I've talked to some media members in terms of getting their opinions on players. So we have some good takes coming up on the draft, and we'll send that out tomorrow. So, hey, okay, so the All-Star week has been fantastic. It's been great for the Dodgers that participated in it. I know for a fact it's been great for all the Dodgers who haven't as well because, hey, they've gone to the lake. I know Antonio Knowles has gone back home. Jack Dreyer's gone back to Iowa to watch his Johnston team back in Iowa play in the state tournament. So this is a great time of year to recharge your batteries. And then also there's even more excitement down the pike. It comes in that, hey, Tarek Skubal may be more available than a lot of people thought. We've said that a couple different times. I mentioned last week when I was in Tulsa, I sat and talked to a Tiger Scout the entire game, and I've never seen a Tiger Scout in Oklahoma, period. Not to say they haven't been there, but I've never seen it. And also that, hey, this might be a situation that is possible. And that also I felt like the Tigers were just kind of, I think every player's available for sale. I think you say their player's not for sale just to kind of drive the price up. I think they're doing that as far as posturing. So I know you're very familiar with Tarek Skubal and then also the GarrettCrochet deal. So dive into that, Austin.
Okay, yeah. So just a little bit of context. I'm here from the state of Michigan, so I have a lot of experience with the Detroit Tigers, which I know, especially after this past week, might not be super popular with a lot of Dodgers fans at least. But I was also in Michigan Friday night in downtown Detroit to watch the Tigers and the Dodgers game, which had Tarek Skubal start the game for the Detroit Tigers against the Los Angeles Dodgers. And there's been a lot of rumors about what the Dodgers are going to do for the starting pitching side of things. They have been dealing with a lot of injuries. They tried to at the beginning of the season, and I think both Casey and I praised it, and they heavily invested in top-end starting pitching because they needed to have that high-end, top-end starting pitcher. That was the number one need of the offseason, even above a guy like a ShoheiOhtani, who was amazing, a generational talent that the Dodgers obviously wanted to go all in on. They would have been incomplete without going out and getting that top-end starting pitcher, which is why they went out and targeted both Tyler Glasnow, which they gave up, really good pitcher, and Ryan Pepio, who's having a lot of success in Tampa Bay, and Johnny DeLuca, and also gave over $300 million to a Yoshinobu Yamamoto. Obviously, Yamamoto on the injured list. Right now, Tyler Glasnow is on the injured list. I don't think that is too much of a long-term concern for the Dodgers, but there has been a lot of injuries that the Dodgers have dealt with and some struggles from some guys that have come back for rehab, which has restarted the need for a potential frontline starting pitcher because the Dodgers need to have that guy in order to get far in this postseason, or at least to increase the odds that you're going to get far in the postseason, especially when you're going to go up against teams like the Philadelphia Phillies, which we saw what happened during that series against the Dodgers, albeit with a lot of Dodgers players not fully healthy. Still is an excuse. Still, you saw the Dodgers fall to the Phillies. Still, they're going to have a ton of confidence going into that ballpark if it comes down to both of those teams. So that brings up the situation. Who are the front line, top of the line guys at the starting pitching side? And I think it has come down to two of the top starting pitchers in all of the game of baseball this year. You have Tarek Skubal of the Detroit Tigers, and you have GarrettCrochet of the Chicago White Sox. Two similar guys, two different flavors as far as what you could like. Both have a lot of similarities, but diverge a little bit as far as both risk and you could say different aspects as far as their explosiveness on their stuff or some of the versatility that they might have. So with the Tarek Skubal, starting pitcher for the Detroit Tigers, where the Tigers are at right now, they are, I believe, 47-50, something like that, just a couple of games under 500. They have been for years striving to make some sort of push for the postseason. There's a huge emphasis in Detroit on developing a lot of the young hitters that they have, particularly guys like a Riley Green and a Colt Keith and a Kerry Carpenter. They're wanting to develop these guys through their system. They actually really do have a good pitching development side, in part because a lot of guys that they brought in through their system, some guys that previously worked for the Dodgers organization. And so that has created the possibility, because their window might not completely fit in with the Tarek Skubal, who is on pace to be potentially the American League Cy Young Award winner. They might not be completely in Tarek Skubal's window, who has 2.5 years of team control, which means that he could possibly, if the Tigers want to cash in now and take advantage and really help this rebuild, they can get an absolute haul for Tarek Skubal. And I think that is what they're going to be looking for, perhaps for some additional position players that can really help grow this farm system just even more and really create an environment and a system to where, man, they feel really good about the rebuild and about coming back strong in the Motor City. So with Tarek Skubal, there's been a lot of questions as far as whether he is going to be available. Latest reporting is, at least with the Dodgers and the Baltimore Orioles, two teams that have really good farm systems, they could be making a really heavy push for a Tarek Skubal, somebody who has incredible numbers on this season. So that's kind of the rundown of where the Tigers are and where the Dodgers are as far as the need for a Tarek Skubal. As far as going after him or going after a guy like him versus a Garrett Crochet. Dodgers fans have seen both of the guys in action. And I think you can have your opinion as far as which guy that you like better, which guy you believe has more explosive stuff. I think Garrett Crochet, as far as like the stuff plus, if you like a lot of that stuff, would lean a little bit more towards a Garrett Crochet. As far as his stuff plus, Tarik Skubal still has really good stuff, 97, 98 mile per hour fastball. He has the sinker. He's got the curveball. He's got a lot of really good pitch mix. I think where it comes down to, and this is something that the Dodgers perhaps are indicating, or perhaps it's just major league executives are indicating, with a Garrett Crochet, at least for this season, because he doesn't have a lot of the innings built up, comes with a little bit more of a risk. He has far exceeded his major league innings total this season already, which if you're worried about like a Tyler Glasnow who's reaching up towards his major league innings limit, that could be a little bit of a concern if you are relying or looking for a guy that you want to 100% for sure be there for the starting rotation. You could lean into a little bit more of a Tarik Skubal, which my guess, if you go with Tarik Skubal, probably is going to cost more than a guy like a Garrett Crochet. Mm-hmm. Could be leading to a lot of interesting discussions to what the Dodgers are going to be looking to target at the trade deadline. If they are going out to get a top-line starting pitcher, very likely going to be one of these two.
Yeah, I don't think they have a choice. I think they have to do everything they can to find a starting pitcher. And I know, hey, the safe choice definitely is Tarik Skubal. Garrett Crochet comes with a lot of strings attached, and with all the injuries the Dodgers have had to, I know Tyler Glasnow is not, he's on the IL, but kind of not, in the sense that I think it was more precautionary. Hey, let's get him. It's kind of like giving a veteran a day off right before a day off, to give him the 2 days off in a row, or not playing him on the day game after the night game. I think that was more precautionary with Tyler Glasnow. Hey, Yoshinobu Yamamoto going to come back in the middle of August, but you never know exactly how all that's going to work out. We found Dustin May's not coming back. Clayton Kershaw, who knows? Bobby Miller, absolutely. Who knows? You can't rely on any of those guys. So I think it is imperative the Dodgers go out and get a top-line guy. So let me ask this, and let's kind of go a little bit back and forth here on this.
Let's do it.
So if you go get a top-line starter, what is the number one reason why you get that guy?
If you go out and get a top-line starter, you want that guy to perform in the postseason.
Correct. So you want them to give you 4 dominant starts, maybe 5 dominant starts in the postseason, right?
Yes.
Okay, so which guy between the two has the more of the ability to go out and give you those 4 dominant starts and be more dominant in the postseason between Skubal and Crochet?
That's a really good question. As far as projecting that, I could see probably Crochet giving really solid, but probably in shorter stints. Okay. Probably you'd be thinking more of especially with the innings limit, probably be limited to 3, 4, maybe 5 innings
in the playoffs,
at most.
You think?
During the postseason, yes.
Okay.
That is how much concern that I have with the wear and tear on his arm. Whereas with the Tarik Skubal, he pitched in the All-Star game yesterday, pitched a scoreless inning. I think he would be really solid. Perhaps the stuff doesn't play up quite as much, although I think his stuff still is really solid and still can get a lot of big league hitters out, as we saw with his outing against the Dodgers, as we've seen a lot throughout his career. So between the two, I think Garrett Crochet probably has a slightly better stuff, but I think it might come at a little bit shorter stints.
Yeah. So you only think you're going to get 3 or 4 innings out of him in a playoff game?
I have serious concern about the wear and tear on Garrett Crochet's arm.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's a big concern. So it kind of comes down to, do you want maybe a little bit more explosive stuff versus a lot more risk? Or do you want maybe a little bit less explosive stuff, with quite a bit less risk? And if you know the Dodgers and what's on brand for them, they will always take the route of whatever is going to give them the most consistency to it. Mm-hmm. So I don't think there's any doubt about it that 10 out of 10 times, if you had a choice between the two and the offerings were anywhere as close to similar in terms of prospects haul to give back, they'll choose Tarik Skubal 10 out of 10 times, I think.
Yeah, that would at least be the safer option. Now, that doesn't mean that Tarek Skubal doesn't come without risk. He got drafted in the 9th round, particularly because he was coming out of college with Tommy John surgery. There has been times where he hasn't been completely healthy in the past, but he's still gone out there and been able to pitch 120, 130 innings in a season. I don't think there's a huge amount of concern with the Tarek Skubal as far as the injuries. He's already built up a lot of innings, so you would anticipate that he would be able to handle the workload that would require it in the postseason, particularly if you are concerned about the 2024 Dodgers. I think GarrettCrochet, if the Dodgers went out and acquired him, yes, a little bit more of a risk, but we've seen how good he is this season. I mean, we're talking about two of the absolute best pitchers in the game of baseball, the left-handed side. It is an absolute... I mean, we're spoiled as Dodgers fans to even have it be in the question of a Tarek Skubal and a GarrettCrochet being possibilities for the Dodgers. But those are two guys that, especially with this team that's going as all in as they are, you have to be looking at this type of upside and at least have very serious conversations as far as what it would take to get both of these guys.
Yeah, your prospects are like a savings account, man. Like if your air conditioner goes out and you got to spend the $8,000 it takes to replace your air conditioner, but you don't want to drain your that $8,000 out of your savings account, then why do you even have your savings account? I mean, if you're in a position to win a World Series and all it's going to take is prospects to put you in a better position to do it, then you got to dip out of that savings account, man.
Yeah, that is absolutely right. You have to take advantage of these guys, especially when a lot of these guys, at times, we've seen some of these guys just sit around in the minor league system for quite a while without any sort of role or any sort of way to get up to the big league level. If you can take advantage of a lot of those guys and provide them with opportunities going forward, I think that's going to be the best of both worlds. And I think that's going to create a really good system for the Dodgers going forward as well, knowing that your guys can have opportunities and you're setting up your big league club for as much success while surrounding them with some of the best coaches in all of minor league baseball. I think this is something that you have to do with this Dodgers team. You have to be bold. You have to make moves. You have to make sure that you do everything that you can to go out there and win a World Series and make smart, appropriate moves and get some really good players. It's going to cost a lot to get either one of these guys, but you'd be getting two incredible talents with additional years of club control afterwards. That's going to cost a lot, but you're going to get a really good player in return who's going to help you over the next couple of years. Plus, if the Dodgers don't go out and extend them, which they could do after their contracts come to an end.
What's it going to cost you not to get them would be my point. And that's why, because, I mean, it might cost you a World Series. That's why also, I mean, I hear all these names like a Rose Arena and I hear all these other big deals. I'm not saying they're not going to happen, but I just don't think they're going to, kind of like ShoheiOhtani needed to be the first guy the Dodgers signed in the offseason, or at least one of the first guys, because he was going to recruit everybody else. Yeah. And so I think if you get a Tarek Skubal or a GarrettCrochet, then you can move on to your other needs, but you have to address the pitching need first.
Yeah, I think this is a huge need, especially as we've seen the pitching kind of wear thin over the past couple of weeks, couple of months, as the injuries have started to mount. Yes, there are guys that are working their way back, and we will see them reinvigorate themselves into the fold. How they will adapt back to being into the regular rotation, back into the bullpen, remains a big question. And you don't want to have a lot of questions for this Dodgers team. You don't want to roll into the postseason with we're going to kind of see. I'm not really sure. I'm not really comfortable with this. No, you want to be certain. You want to know that you are the best, because this Dodgers team, with the amount of money that they've spent, should be the best. And in order to be the best, you got to go out and reinforce your team. That's what the Dodgers are going to be looking to do during this trade deadline. Doesn't mean that it's going to happen. Does not mean that the Dodgers are 100% going to get GarrettCrochet or Tarek Skubal. They could go out and get another starting pitcher who might
Tyler
be
Anderson.
a little bit of less deal, like a Tyler Anderson, Nathan Eovaldi. You could look at Jack Flaherty, any of these other guys, and they could be really solid, a lot cheaper, and a lot better options for the Dodgers. Top end guys, though, is what you're looking for right now and what it would take to get them. And there certainly are different creative ways that you can go out and get either one of these guys. Obviously, with a Tarek Skubal, this is not my idea. This comes from a lot of other people who have mentioned this. You could pair him with the contract if you're not concerned about money at all. The Tigers are a little bit more concerned about the financial resources that they give out, and the current administration for the Tigers did not give out the contract of for say a Javier Baez. They could be looking to potentially get rid of that. Could that lower the prospect costs to where if you take on that contract, you could go out and get another top end position player as well? Could create a little bit more flexibility if you decide to do something like that. I don't know if that's something that the Tigers would be necessarily looking into, or if they'd want the big prospect package and just deal with the 22, 23 million that Javier Baez is going to be taking over the next couple of seasons. There are creative ways that you can go about going through these types of trades. Dodgers have to be creative, and it seems like they always wait to the last minute, especially after last year. I don't really want the Dodgers to wait until the last minute, but I think that's what's going to happen this season.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay, as we move on, let's go ahead and take a trip down the farm. There's been no action as of late, so we have nothing new really other than the draft that we're going to cover tomorrow to report to you as far as down on the farm. So, hey, just kind of take us through some of your best memories of the first half down the farm, some of the best performances you can remember, and some of the guys that you feel like have really broke out.
Yeah, so it's been, obviously, it's been a good year for the Dodgers and down on the farm. I know especially the team success, the teams clinching the postseason spots hasn't been exactly the same as it was last year. I don't think that means anything less about these guys, nor does that mean anything less about the performances that we've seen for a lot of these guys. There's been a lot of great memories. I think there's also been a new generation of Dodgers prospects that have risen up from last season. I think we think of the big top line Dodgers prospects from 2023 going into that season. You thought of like the Bobby Millers, you thought of the Gavin Stones, the top end pitching guys, the Emmett Sheehan, you thought of the Landon Knack, the Kyle Het, Nick Frasso, I should say, Nick Nastrini as well. You thought of Andy Pages going into last season as well. A lot of these guys either have been dealing with some injuries during the season, or for a lot of them have already made the jump to the major leagues. So then the question is, okay, you have this great crop of pitchers in particular that are coming up through the system. What's next? What could possibly be next? Turns out that the Dodgers have a really good eye for talent, and they have a really good development system that helps equip a lot of these pitchers. And they also made some moves during the offseason to add to this pitching staff as well. So we've seen a new generation of starting pitchers really come up through the process, particularly in Great Lakes, which I've seen the most of this season. I think of guys like a Jackson Ferris, who at times has been really dominant, gone 6-7 innings at times, looked really good on the left-handed side of the mound, the guy that came over in the Michael Busch trade. I think of the pairing of a Jared Karros and a Peter Huback, both with dynamic breaking balls that on the starting pitching side early in the season. Jared Karros, unbelievable what he was able to do. Peter Huback, insane amount of swing and miss. Two guys that are really good starting pitching prospects, as well as a guy like a Jose Rodriguez coming out of the starting pitcher or in that bulk inning type role. There's been a lot of good starting pitchers that have started to emerge, as well as some relievers that have just really broken out. We mentioned a lot, Edgardo Henriquez. he's got to be one of, if not the best relief pitching prospect in the game of baseball. There's been some good ones that I've seen. Craig Yoho.
He's Emmanuel Clase on steroids.
He is Emmanuel Clase, like absolutely the 103 mile per hour fastball, the 96 mile per hour slider. Unbelievable what he's able to do. Edgardo Henriquez stuff is legit ridiculous. But you've also seen some other relief pitchers step up big time. I think of a Lucas Wepp, who has turned into a late inning stud out of the bullpen. I think of a Jack Dreyer, the Maytag, talked about last year quite a bit. I think he's stepped up his game even more, and the results are absolutely unbelievable, undeniable for him. I think there's a lot, if you go up and down, you look at the individual performances for these starting pitchers, for these pitching class that is completely new from what it was of previous years. I think there is a ton to be excited about. And that's not even mentioning guys that are starting to come up like a Patrick Copen or a Peyton Martin that are really coming up, really being just really good starting pitchers, a lot of really good prospects that they have. The pitching development side for the Dodgers remains really steady, really strong. And this is before we get into the hitting development side, which we will get to in just a second.
Yeah, and Wyatt Kroll, been very impressed at how he's come on for Rancho, lefty out of Florida State. Also, Luke Fox, don't forget, Ronaldo Yeen hit 104 miles an hour earlier this year, and we have that confirmed on TrackMan. That was not like a stadium gun type thing. That was actually confirmed on TrackMan. You had mentioned Edgardo Henriquez and that entire, Logan Boyer, a young man that I just released an interview with yesterday. He's hitting 98 miles an hour. He's back to being the dominant type closer piece that Jake Pilarski's back. And then also don't forget Michael Peterson, man. Michael Peterson came to the Dodgers and used that 100-mile-an-hour fastball and really made a big deal out of himself. And he's stuck in the major leagues. Super exciting that Landon Knack has got to spend so much time at the major league level this year and done very well. Gavin Stone's had a turnaround year, something of which we predicted in the entire offseason. Excited that Kyle Hurt is getting ready to come back here before too long. I don't have any new information on him since we talked about him last. And so the pitching side of things has been very exciting. And then JustinWrobleski, how can we forget him? I mean, the way he has absolutely ascended all the way from, if you forget, man, well, you won't, Austin, but the first 4 performances last year were in Great Lakes, and it was like he gave up like 4 runs in 3 innings and 3 runs in 4 innings. And I mean, it was like, up, and that was whenever I said, "Hey man, just wait."
Yeah,
let him get the groove.
I know. There's times where it's like, oh man. There's times of brilliance. I think he threw like an immaculate inning in that stretch too. But then there's a lot of times where he'd give up 4 3 runs, and then it was I remember
at the high level.
Yeah, at the high level, and then it was just wait. The stuff is going to play. He's going to be good. And boy, have we seen that. He's already ascended to the Los Angeles Dodgers, already on this 40-man roster. Speaks absolute volumes. He fits right into this next generation of pitching prospects. He's probably the highlights as far as this new generation of pitching prospects that should be highlighted in this Dodger system.
Yeah. And I think he definitely has, maybe not quite as long, but he definitely has Tarek Skubal type of stuff as far as the fastball playing up in the high 90s. He has all the sweeping pitches that turns right. He has a sinker that turns left. So I'm super excited about Wrobleski. On the offensive side, I love all the young hitters that the Rancho Cucamonga Quakes have brought up. You talk about Gerald Perez, who got brought up earlier, to mix with like a Wilman Diaz and a Jesus Calise, Alexander Albertus, Jose Meza, and Oswaldo Osorio, to go with a guy like a Juan Alonso. Sean McLean has really, really been hitting the baseball just off the charts here in the last 2 or 3 weeks. He's finally healthy and showing what he's capable of doing. And a lot of these guys like McLean, Albertus, Wilman Diaz, they play shortstop. So it's super exciting to see that shortstop position getting taken care of. So I love the young. I've talked many times about the young hitters at the single A Rancho Cucamonga Quakes level. It's been, I think, up and down, I think you could say, with the Great Lakes Loons. It seems like they score a bunch in a period and then don't score a whole lot in the next period.
Yeah, it can be a little bit frustrating at time, but I think you mentioned it is that young generation of hitting prospects, a lot of international hitting prospects, to where there is so much excitement in this Dodger system. I mentioned it about a week and a half ago during my show on Monday, the last one that I had, and also a hot take that I had about
awesome,
the Dodgers
awesome.
Dodgers hitting development system. And
Yeah.
I believe that even though there's been a lot of frustration with Dodgers fans, I think this hitting development system is still elite. I think hitting development is one of the, if not the hardest thing in the game of baseball. And in order to try to figure out, because it turns out trying to hit a 103 mile per hour fastball from Edgardo Henriquez and then turn around with a 96 mile per hour slider is really difficult to do if you are a hitter. And finding those guys that are able to do that with any sort of consistency is incredibly difficult. And with this Dodgers system, with what they've been able to do, I just looked at it updated as far as those with 150 plate appearances and at least 125 WRC plus. Dodgers have even more players than last time. They're up to 17 players that fit inside of that category. And I think this comes down to, one, the guys at Rancho, the young, talented players that are coming up that are a lot of international players. I think you also have to be mentioned in Alex Freeland, who is a breakout shortstop prospect, a legit top 100 in the game of baseball prospect, according to Baseball America. And they do a lot of research with that.
Yeah, they're good.
Absolutely well-deserved for an Alex Freeland who's got just about all of the tools, the plate discipline. He's got some power. He's got some speed. He is a guy to watch out for. We've seen the continued development of some of these catchers, like a DaltonRushing, like a DiegoCartaya, who's had a solid season, a little bit more of a bounce back, got his way up to Oklahoma City. We've seen some great performances in Oklahoma City as well. You think of a Ryan Ward with the power that he's been able to produce. It's reminding you that there is still a ton of talent on the position player side within this Dodger system. And it just leads you to believe in what they're able to do working with a lot of these guys. And I think this creates a lot of attraction for other organizations, for a lot of these guys that you might have previously given up on, like a Ryan Ward, which I don't know why you'd give up on him, or a Cody Hosey, or an Andre Lipsius. I think that Oklahoma City club is gritty, and I think there's a lot of talent on that club that is ready to prove themselves. It's about opportunity and providing them the opportunity that they need.
Hosey and Lipsius, man, I'm so happy for Cody. Andre, man, he came over, made a couple swing adjustments, has done great. Cooled off. Of course, he was going to cool off because he was so hot to begin the season. It was crazy, but hey, man, you got to root for Cody Hosey. This dude, 2019 first-round draft pick, struggled, and then injuries and all that. But, yeah, hey, final thoughts with all that. We've kind of hit through all the highlights of the farm system, talked about the Skubal versus Crochet deal, where the Dodgers are at, but final thoughts, Austin.
Yeah, so I'm trying to get this thing all set and ready to go. So we'll do a little bit of story time here, because obviously I was in, actually, my first ever Dodgers game that I got to go to was in Detroit. I don't live in the California area. Dodgers rarely come into town because the Tigers American League team, there wasn't as many teams out there. So it was my first time being able to go to Dodgers game, particularly since I've been heavily invested with the High A Great Lakes system. So over the past, I would say, 6 or 7 years or so, it's been the Great Lakes team has been one that's been really close to my heart, one that I go out on the road for consistently. I'll go out when it's 40 degrees out to West Michigan, to Lansing, to South Bend, to Fort Wayne.
I have video evidence of it, by the way.
Oh, yes. You can look at a lot of videos of me. There's maybe 40 people in the crowd, and I am out there sitting with the guys, fighting for the guys, and trying to help yield them into victory. And so this past weekend, I know it was frustrating for Dodgers fans. It was a little bit of a celebration for me as well. So hadn't been to Comerica in about a year or two. I can't remember exactly the last time, maybe 2021. Got to go there, but it was a ballpark that I had grown up in. So we get there, we hit a couple of my buddies, and Dodgers are taking BP onto the field. And I'm out there, and I wanted to go congratulate JustinWrobleski. Made his big league debut, was on the team. He was on the Great Lakes team all of last year. And I want to show you guys something that I got from the game yesterday.
Nice.
This.
Oh, man. Wow.
Now, this is just a baseball.
No,
a lot of people,
it's not. Yeah.
A lot of people at the game get this. A lot of people get baseballs at the game. This isn't just any baseball, and actually, it is just a baseball. But what this means, I think, can have a big impact on a lot of people. This baseball was specifically thrown out to me. I was on my way to, I saw Robo out in right center field, making my way down the stairs over there. And eventually, as I'm about to the 6th or 7th step down, catch eyes, not with Robo, but with Gavin Stone.
Nice.
Gavin Stone was part of the Great Lakes Club a couple of years ago. And it was like a twinkle was in there, and like a appreciation or excitement there about me being there. A guy that I was there during his starts in West Michigan when it was towards the end of the season in 21, and when it was 40 degrees out in 2022, right behind home plate, cheering him on. It was about the relationships and the excitement and the just the ability to be a fan when nobody else was watching that was there, that was important. And I think those relationships can make a huge amount of difference. If you are out there, whether you are a fan of the Dodgers, whether you're close to a minor league team, whether you're close to any team in general, that consistency, that ability to be there regularly, that willingness to fight when it seems like nobody else is watching, man, that makes a huge difference for a lot of these guys. And that is part of the journey that these guys had went through. That is just this is just a baseball. But what this represents is an appreciation and a thoughtfulness that is there that really helped with the journey for each one of these guys. I'm just there. I'm loud. I'm energetic. But man, if I'm excited about this game, I think that really helps try to drag these guys over the finish line as they go and try to make a legacy-defining moment for themselves and for their family in particular. I think the relationships that you can build in this game are special. I think the impact that you can have on these players is special. Consistency, and remember that, man, it's just a game, but there are people in the game is what this game is about. That was really cool. That was a special moment. I also got to congratulate JustinWrobleski. Got to say, ask how both of them were doing. Really cool moment. And I think the relationships that you build and just the even during the small minor league games mean a ton to these guys.
It does. It absolutely does. Eddie calls it jumping in the cocoon. Hey, you have this cocoon full of professional guys, and you're either in that cocoon or you're not. And if you're in that cocoon, it's forever. And it's one of those things that doesn't matter if you're a fan, a manager, a teammate, whatever. You're in that trust tree and you're in that cocoon, and that's really exciting. So, hey, man, what a great experience for you, Austin. I know you got to get off to work. So, hey, man, I appreciate you joining. And go Loons, go Quakes, go Drillers, go whatever you call the AAA baseball. And then most importantly, go Dodgers.